All right. Shane Pinto has come out and said that he is betting his house on a Matt Boldy blow-up year. An almost direct quote that was just slightly altered, given to Michael Russo.
Oh, it's on, but it was all working so well, and then the second we started, it all went to shit. I got most of that, but I don't even know if anyone can hear me. I
can hear you.
Can hear me. I'm just gonna keep going. That's pretty good. The first thing that I thought about was like the Senators being like, yeah, let's send Shane Pinto to do a huge media thing. So I was like, that takes some balls. I was like, I wonder what literally everyone's going to ask him immediately. But I mean, what he said about Matt Boldy is what everyone, I mean, I don't really know how familiar people are with how good Boldy's been since he entered the NHL outside of Minnesota. I mean, even in Minnesota, he like will catch flack for the sometimes being like somewhat streaky or whatever, which is always fun to me. I'm like, dude, he's been in the league for like 2 or 3 years. Like, we're really gonna like label him already here, but like on a team that's been pretty not awesome. But the only thing is just like, yeah, if he wants to go off this year, obviously that's great, but like it's gonna be not. Minnesota's going to be really good. I feel like they still really have to work for some offense here. So I could see him. Yeah. Like he is that age where it's like, he's not obviously not at his peak yet. He's only getting better, but at the same time, it's just like, what's he working with this year again? Like who is he going to play with all year long? Is there going to be any kind of consistency from start to finish? Probably not with how the last couple of years have gone in Minnesota. And just given the fact that like, their top 6 tends to be just like somewhat of a revolving door with 1 or 2 guys. But I mean, when you look at the profile of player, the size, like the dual threat offensive capabilities, and the fact that he plays such a good 2-way game, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he like really, really did pop off this year. I think he said something like 90 to 100 points. That feels maybe a tad out of reach, but like 80 wouldn't be shocked. I mean, what do you have last couple of years? He's been 30, 35 goals, something like that, in around there. So I think he should be able to at least match what he's been doing. And again, his age, like you're only expecting to get better. So I mean, yeah, if he really all the way off, wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. My only question is just like how much of that's going to depend on the consistency of his line mates.
Yeah. And last 2 years for Boldy, 63 and 69 points.
Love that.
So, I mean, 82 is probably the number that most fans are going to have for him this year. Like, can he hit that or not? And a lot of that, may or may not.
Per game guy.
Fans don't want to hear this, but a lot of that might not be in his control.
Well, the other thing, too, is just like, what's the power play going to look like this year? You know, like, Eriksson Ek has somehow, despite having a handful of super flashy plays every season, like, he's scored a couple highlight reel goals in the past. But for the most part, almost all of his points are coming from him working his fucking bag off in and around the net. Like, and then on the power play, pretty much still doing the same thing. I mean, I think he's led them in power play goals before, or had like what either first or second in power play goals the last couple of years, despite the fact that he lives out just like outside / most of the time, honestly, inside the crease, and just like going to fucking war and winning all of these battles. But if their power play can just be a little bit better, then you got to think there's even more points out there for Boldy. But like, I haven't even looked at like what his even strength versus power play point, like what the difference is. But like, imagine if they had just a league average power play. And I feel like automatically, as one of the go-to guys for offense, his points would jump up even more so. So, we'll see what it looks like this year. Hopefully, Declan Gisholm can really put his stake in the ground here as like the first option, the power play, because I think he absolutely has that in his bag, especially given the lineup. But if they can have a consistent power play that's just like league average, you're going to see a jump in points for Boldy, I think. So, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, in the last 2 years, 25 and 26 power play points. So there's definitely more to be had there. How much more and will we see an elevated power play group is definitely hard to say. But this Thursday, we're going to see the first glimpses. We've got training camp right around the corner. Anyone that has like some burning questions going into training camp, definitely go to the link that I dropped in here in the comments. Right. Go let us know what you want Russo and Joe Smith to cover leading up to Thursday. I don't know, Z, are there any things that you're like either most curious to see or even just specific things you want to see, whether it's on special teams or how lines are constructed? Like what are you most looking forward to on Thursday?
I mean, I think special teams for me is always going to be one of the first things I'm looking at in the preseason. Just like, can it be any different at all? Because like, it hasn't just been a problem. It has been like a borderline Achilles heel the last couple of years, where it's just like they have again, not just bad, like legitimately atrocious. So I do want to see what the special teams units look like. I don't know how much of the regulars we're going to see in the first game, I guess, but and I mean, it kind of feels like I think we've got a pretty good idea, at least for the first 10, 15 games. I think everyone's got a pretty good idea of like what the lines are most likely going to look like out the gate, assuming everyone's fully healthy. There's going to be maybe one or two guys up and down the lineup in different spots. But I think we have a pretty good idea of like generally where the lines will end up. Like I do think, especially at the gate, we're going to see Hartman on that first line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. We're going to see Boldy with Eriksson Ek, and I'm sure they want to have Johansson there to have that somewhat of a bounce back year. I'm sure Rossi's probably going to start that third line. What's going to be interesting, though, is like the third line, actually, to me, the idea of like Rossi, Foligno, and Trennan is fascinating because like when you go back again, Rossi put up, 21 goals this past season? A lot. Like it's not like he was relying on being in the top six to produce goals. Like he had a couple nice ones. He had a couple that was just him working his balls off again, a couple like redirects, like, and again, he's shown himself to be a very good, he has always been. That's why he got drafted so high. The two-way capabilities plus the offensive upsides, why he got drafted where he did. And that's another guy that you're expecting him to take another step after such a monster year last year. But the third line, to me, could be pretty interesting if it does start with Trennan, Rossi, and Foligno. And I mean, when Foligno was healthy, he was playing really well last year. It's just like he literally could not go more than like 10 games without getting some kind of like minor to like pretty substantial, I guess, setback and like missed large chunks of time. But he can still play, assuming he's healthy. So we'll see, I guess. But I do think we have a general idea / like, I feel like we do know what the lines are going to be out the gate. So we'll see how many regulars again play, how many games like the top guys are going to be playing in the preseason, and whether it's more towards like the first few versus the back end of the preseason. But I feel like we've got a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like out the gate, and that's fine. but we'll see. The special teams are what I'm going to be looking at.
Yeah. I'm sad that there's just less and less of a future here for Marco Rossi, who, to your point, 21 goals, 19 assists last year. And I don't know what more he has to show to get an opportunity. And granted, like, deep lineup, whatever. The fact that you're going to, like, give Ryan Hartman the first look over Marco Rossi, like, I don't know. I feel like it's better if you tell Hartman he's got to earn it for him. And, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to put Rossi on that third line. Plus, just thinking about the mayhem that would ensue from a Trennan, Hartman, and Foligno line is just hilarious to me. That would be way too fun. But you look at all the talk now with, like, Yurov is probably a center. He's going to be in the top 6. Rossi's gone. He's gone.
I'm pretty surprised with how the narrative around the Yurov playing center thing really has taken off, to the point where, like, I feel like it was a couple weeks ago, I was listening to Russo and our boy Tony talk about this. It like the fact that, and again, once Russo says it, it's like, okay, that's at least like 90% most likely, like, solid fact. But, like, even he was mentioning that he's looking like the Wilder player, him playing center, is really, really surprising to me. Again, like, this is a kid who played mostly on the wing his whole life, had opportunities playing at center and looked really good. Obviously, like, he's a really solid playmaker. Most of his offense last 2-3 years before he got drafted was pretty much him, like, creating offense for himself more so than, like, playmaking for his whole line. This last year was the first time we saw him get legit substantial center, like, minutes playing center in Metal League's top 6. They won the Gagarin Cup, whatever. KHL champion. But even then, like, even the playoffs, he was still going back and forth between wing and center. So I am surprised that it's, like, become a pretty common, or, like, the narrative has really shifted towards, like, when he comes over, they're planning on him playing center. And I get it. He's got, like, crazy offensive upside. He's shown the playmaking. He's playing, like, a good amount of center in the KHL right now. Or, well, not right now because he's hurt. But I'm more just surprised that it's been like, yeah, no, they are absolutely planning on him playing center. And, like,
yeah,
that's the plan. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean,
he's playing center, and Spacek is going to be first D pairing.
The Spacek, I will never drop that. It's like, it's crazy.
It feels bad too, because it feels like we're shitting on him, and we're not at all. It's just so funny how much clout there has been around that name of late that it's just fascinating to me. I have nothing against the kid. I'm excited. I think that there's a potential, like, future in the group for him, but I'm not as high on him as others, apparently. I don't know.
It's, again, like you said, like, since I've been doing this show, like, everyone knows I feel super weird about, like, coming off like I'm shitting on a fucking, like, 18 or 19 or 20-year-old fucking hockey player. But, like, sometimes, like, these narratives just get so out of control. I'm like, whoa, let's hold on. Like, let's take a second here. Can we all just come back? Like, the thing I come to is, like, yeah, he's a right shot. He's bigger than most of the D prospects they have. And, like, he's shown some offensive upside. There's a reason he got drafted in the 5th round as an overager. Like, there's still some pretty, like, big gaps in his game. Now, international tournaments, he's gone all the way off for Czechia. He's been great. So I get that. Like, obviously that's the one, like, those tournaments are always going to get a ton of shine over, like, playing the fucking QMJHL or the AHL this past year. But, like, that's another one where I'm like, wow, it feels like we really are jumping the gun here. But, like, hey, if it works out as well as everyone is, like, suggesting that they think it's going to, like, that's fantastic. I love that. But it's always interesting when it's just like he has jumped over guys like Carson Lambos or anyone else really, as far as like projecting like a potential for him in the future, like his ceiling in the NHL or in the Wild lineup. Like he's still got a ways to go as well. Like he's not like he's not not going to get games this year. Like that would be actually, if he does, that's a big problem. But I do think he's going to be an NHL player. He's going to be a pretty good like power play option, and like he's got the size, the fact that he's a right shot, the mobility is fascinating. Like sometimes it looks amazing. Sometimes you're like, how did you get this far behind that guy? But the fact that like again, it's just like the narrative around like, yep, he's gonna be like top 4, like dynamic power play. I'm like, whoa. Okay, I mean, I believe in the kid. He's an NHL player. He's gonna be good in the NHL. It's like, all right.
It's just like what I did when I was making the graphics for our prospect pool rankings, where I typed in David Spacek and up pops his teammate for Czechia, and everyone's like, yeah, that's who he is. That would be the rational way to explain this to me. It's like, oh shit, he's the other Czechian. That makes more sense.
Oh, yeah. It is like it's just, I mean, whatever, you know. It is what it is. This is how it goes, like doing the prospect thing.
Well, and you know too that Yurov, the only reason that he pivoted to center and has really locked into it is because he saw the praise that Nadinov got for winning 2 faceoffs. It's like, that's all I got to do. All right.
He's like, holy shit, dude. He saw that post game immediately. His head goes, I am gonna make $200 million fucking dollars playing center in Minnesota.